I think it's all of these things. As a matter of fact, as a former diplomat, I find it very difficult to digest such language, such undiplomatic language, such invectives, such uh, uh, and but I'm not surprised, frankly speaking, because India seems to be desperate, frustrated, and it definitely doesn't like Pakistan. Uh, Whatever Pakistan is presently doing, mediating or facilitating, whatever you call it. I'm sure Jaishankar Saab is having sleepless nights when Pakistan is achieving diplomatic heights. Uh, I am not sure about that because India is not really, India does not have that clout, frankly speaking, though it talks about strategic autonomy and so on and so forth. But Pakistan is in my view, is the only country which is at present best suited to mediate or facilitate between Iran and the US. We share a long border with Iran. We traditionally have very, very good relations. And at present, the massive goodwill Pakistan enjoys in the Trump administration, uh, India cannot match that. So Pakistan is in my view, the only country at the moment which can help Iran and US to come to the negotiating table. And I hope that Pakistan would be able to take things forward towards peace and stability in this region. That is correct to a certain extent, because India has been trying to isolate Pakistan or to accuse Pakistan of cross-border terrorism, so to say. But no country or that really did not get much traction around the world, that narrative which India, false narrative which India tried to build. And I'm sure India must be rethinking or repositioning itself. But as I said earlier, uh, they at present cannot match the way Pakistan placed itself around the world. We have, as I said, strong relations. They may be temporary with the US, but at the moment, we have good access in the White House. Similarly, we have excellent relations with the Gulf countries, particularly our strategic mutual defense agreement with Saudi Arabia speaks for itself. So, whatever India does at this point in time, it seems that it would not really gain much or cannot undermine Pakistan's diplomatic efforts. I would not describe or go to that extent. After all, India is an important country, has been or will in years to come will remain a strategic partner of the United States of America. So I do not have any illusions, frankly speaking, though India is facing some setbacks at the moment. But at the end of the day, India and US, they have interests which converge. And you will see, maybe, post-Trump era may bring about something more positive for the US. But under the Trump administration, India has not been able to play its cards well, in my view. And that's why they lost the momentum which was generated with Prime Minister Modi's 13th February, I think, last year, visit to the White House. So they were not able to maintain that momentum. So Pakistan, after the war in May last year, Pakistan was smart enough to create a good space for itself. So, but at the end of the day, I do not have any illusions about Pakistan-US long-term strategic partnership. I'm not seeing that because we are natural strategic partners of China, and that I think is that partnership will continue in the years to come. I do not know how to decipher India's ambivalence, but issue remains that India and Pakistan are arch enemies, and if we are doing something positive, helpful for the world, they would obviously see as their loss. So this is how the two countries have been working for the last 74, 5 years. And this is unfortunate because we are in the region which is also riven with many, many conflicts where we two countries are required to really cooperate with each other. But unfortunately, at this stage, at this juncture, we are not in a position to be having that kind of a working relationship. But India is definitely concerned about uh, uh, Pakistan's soaring credibility around the world, and but it doesn't have enough tools, in my view, at this stage to damage Pakistan in any way, diplomatically speaking. Definitely, the Iran conflict, no matter how it ends, would brought about bring about many, many changes, not only in West Asia but beyond. We will perhaps will have a new security architecture. We will have new alignments in the region, and nobody knows, since we do not know how this conflict pan out. There is still many big ifs and buts. So we are keeping all of us are keeping our fingers crossed. And if Iran is able to, survive, its regime is able to survive, you will have a different outcome and different dynamics. But if somehow U.S. succeeds in dealing a decisive blow to the regime, then you will have a different kind of security and economic architecture. So most things, hinge on the outcome of this conflict. And either way, I think Pakistan will remain an important player in this region. And I think we have positioned ourselves accordingly. Both the countries are no doubt taking maximalist position at this stage, and that this is how things are done in diplomacy. You take a maximalist position in public, but then when you come to the negotiating table, there you work out quid pro quos. And this is how I think it will be done. I'm sure that Pakistan is counseling Iran but counseling rather both sides to show flexibility, but that stage has not yet come. U.S. proposes 15-point formula. Then Iran put in public, as a matter of fact, its 5-point proposal. So once the two sides actually meet, though they do not talk directly, but if there is mediation, third-party mediation, which would be hopefully Pakistan. So Pakistan, given the fact that we do have experience of mediation, China, U.S., Taliban, and U.S. So Pakistan knows the game very well. And not only, India is trying to project Pakistan, that Pakistan is just a courier, it's a post office, no more. But I think, given Pakistan's diplomatic experience, we will do a lot more than just being a courier, in my view. We will come up with plausible solutions to the conflict, so that, at this point, we just need a kind of a window. Even a temporary ceasefire would go a long way, in my view, to strike a permanent deal. But at the same time, we must be cognizant of the fact that there are many, many issues in the region which are inextricably intertwined. And unless those issues are also settled, for example, the Palestinian issue, we cannot expect to have a durable long-term peace or no war in the region. That is almost impossible, because we cannot expect, for example, a country like Iran, if the regime is survived, we cannot expect Iran to give up its support to the Palestinian cause, though it can rethink its position on giving active support to militias there. but its active position on the Palestinian issue will remain the same no matter what. So there are many interlinked issues, and and I hope that Iran now it seems to it has won the perception war, and it seems to have an upper hand at the moment. So it can, before situation worsens for Iran, the way U.S. is trying to reinforce, and perhaps it may further escalate. So before that happens, Iran would be required at some stage to show flexibility. So I hope that whenever even indirect talks begin, Iran would see that, and both sides would hopefully show some flexibility in order to prevent further destruction in the region. Nobody can say anything about that because it is very difficult to read President Trump's mind. But I'm still very optimistic. The fact that the two sides have been able to exchange their proposals, that in itself is a good sign and augurs well for the whole conflict. So I'm hopeful, and let's remain hopeful because since Pakistan is also involved now, so I'm cautiously optimistic about that perhaps we would be able to bring the two sides together at some stage. I do not know this weekend or next week, but it is possible. I do not rule out the possibility. But odds are quite heavy, and we can't say anything with absolute certainty. I think Hormuz Strait is one of the biggest challenge which Iran has been able to throw up, and nobody, because Hormuz Strait was no issue before the war began actually, and so now it has become the central moot point or central dispute. So credit goes to Iran. But obviously, we are all affected by this in one way or another. Especially Pakistan, we have a huge diaspora in the Gulf countries, and we have economic interest there. So Pakistan, I think Iran has been able to effectively the Hormuz Strait's closure, effective closure, has created more leverage for Iran, and it has upended many calculations on the part of the US and other countries. So, and whether Iran is able to post conflict, Iran is able to monetize shipment through to the Hormuz Strait, we do not know. But this remains one of five major demands now. That is a problem. Israel is a problem, and Netanyahu obviously wants West Asia to keep embroiled in conflict. So all these Gulf countries are weakened, and it is able to establish its own hegemony in the region. That is its long-term objective, and also then this will pave the way for greater Israel. So Israel is a kind of is a conundrum for all of us. And since Pakistan does not have, we do not recognize Israel, we do not have any diplomatic relations with Israel. So, but at the end of the day, I think Israel also is aware of the fact that it cannot continue solo. If U.S. agrees with or it strikes a deal with Iran, then I think Israel will have no other option but to fall in line. Because without the US, Israel cannot really continue its war against Iran. I mean, it all depends how you look at things. I'm still hopeful while the war continues, but as I said, since the two sides have been able to exchange proposals, that in itself is a big development in my view. So I'm hopeful that President Trump this round is uh, does not take any step which unnecessarily creates, because the more the war continues, potential solutions become very difficult to achieve. And then mid-November elections are also fast approaching. So by President Trump, it is in President Trump's political interest, domestic political interest as well, to be reaching or striking a deal with Iran as quickly as possible. Further escalation may not really help the US because at the end of the day, it seems that US and Israel have not been able to achieve their objective of no, they were uh, they were thinking of that perhaps the regime would not survive. That has not happened. So one hopes that Trump, President Trump, understands the ground realities and would not become hostage to Israeli, machinations when it comes to West Asia. I think because Iran obviously is not ready to give up its enrichment process right under the NPT. Uh, that can become a huge point. But Iran was, before the war started, Iran was ready to give up this right for about 10 years, I think. But what I heard, uh, whether it can go back to that position, it's anyone's guess. But I think the most critical point would be the state of Hormuz now. How does Iran uh, put, or set conditions for it for use of Hormuz, uh, and that can take the dialogue process anywhere. Will Iran? I do not know if Iran is using Hormuz to get concessions on other issues, or it is now serious that no more. Much would hinge, I think, on Iran, and whether or not it can get some security guarantees or assurances against future aggression. Which countries, I do not know if countries like Pakistan can give such ironclad guarantees till time the Palestinian issue is resolved. So there are many, interrelated questions, and uh, but if once the process goes underway, then I think Pakistan does have the ability and capability to uh, to take it forward. So I think the big issue at this stage is how to take this first step to bring the two sides together, or in one capital, or in Islamabad for that matter. So that is the huge challenge in my view. If that challenge is addressed and the two sides somehow are, here in Islamabad or in any other city for that matter, I think then Pakistan has the ability to make sure that this process does not unravel or does not collapse prematurely. I mean, you can say that U.S. has been able to wreak massive destruction in Iran, but as far as its objectives were concerned, it has not been able to achieve. The regime is still intact, the revolution is intact, and Iran's capability to manufacture ballistic missiles and drones is also there. They also keeping 400 kilograms of enriched uranium. So all those things are there, which Iran was willing to, compromise on that before the war. But now that Iran feels that it has an upper hand, things have become difficult for the US, no doubt. But the way President Trump is, he can always declare victory and get out of this quagmire. And in my view, sooner the better. No, the U.S. has been trying for many years. They made many efforts in the past aimed at regime change in Iran, but nothing really worked. And especially after this unprovoked aggression against Iran, the Iranian people have they appear to have been united against Israel and the US, making the job far more difficult for the two countries. Having said that, I think Iran is now appears to be more defiant in its approach. The way it is saying that the war would now end on its terms, which is takes the level to a the whole situation to a higher level. Uh, but as I said, warring countries do take maximalist positions at times. But once negotiations start, talks start, then obviously they are willing to give and take. And one hopes that because Iran, I hope, also understand and realizes its own limitations in the process. It cannot fight an indefinite war, which would be hugely destructive to Iran as well. So it had fought, an 8-year war with Iraq. So, but times have changed. Iran would also need a closure uh, on this as quickly as possible, though it would not admit publicly, but I'm sure that Iran would also need to show some flexibility in order to strike a modus vivendi, so to say. Um, Iran's terms are some of the terms, for example, enrichment right can be, I think, addressed under IAEA verification. That shouldn't be a big deal. Secondly, Iran never declared to manufacture or have nuclear war or nuclear bomb for that matter. So Iran is on record having declared many times that it doesn't want to become a nuclear power, and its nuclear capabilities are only for peaceful purposes. So that can also be addressed very easily. As far as war reparations are concerned, that would seem to be a non-starter to me. Uh, but then some countries like China and Russia can give some assurances to Iran to help Iran rebuild its infrastructure, damaged infrastructure. As far as I think the potential dispute would be Hormuz, and that both sides I think would, and then that is also an issue for Gulf countries. For instance, if the U.S., the way U.S. is sending Marines and further troops to the region, and if U.S. Captures Kharg Island or any other Iranian island, that may, to a certain extent, strengthen the U.S. position, and that hopefully, not hopefully, but uh, U.S. is perhaps moving in that direction to capture one of the Iranian islands to strengthen its leverage vis-a-vis Iran, and then perhaps negotiate the Strait of Hormuz. So next 2 3 days are very very critical. We would know how things finally pan out or unfold, and where the situation is going. From Pakistan's perspective, obviously we want peace to come as quickly as possible. That is already happening between Iran and China, at least, and also between Russia and India. But I doubt very much that the world is at the point where they can de-dollarize their international economic transactions. The world is not there yet, but nothing is final in international relations. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the road, countries like China and others may come up with plausible substitution. But at this stage, I do not see that happening. Even BRICS is, divided though, because India would never like Chinese currency to become an international currency for that matter. But though India can deal with Russia, but not with China, they have their own differences. So the world is not there yet. Dollar will continue to reign supreme in terms of economic international transactions. And though this can become a threat to the U.S. At some point in future,